Today, we ride. Let's see if we can get out of the neighborhood. And it is not warm today at all. Alright, this bike is a 1980 Honda CX500. I picked this bike up in 2020. I picked a lot of bikes up in 2020. I had everybody was in quarantine. I was off work. I had a little bit of time commitment, but had plenty of time to go looking for bikes and fixing bikes and all of that. That's kind of where a lot of this nonsense with 650 started. Let's get back to this bike. I had a motor sitting in my pole barn that a buddy of mine had given me. He wasn't using it, didn't need it, figured maybe I could use it. So it was sitting in my pole barn. And I always figured that what I wanted to do with it was to find a bike to put it in. And the problem was that, like, I would find a frame and then you got to source everything else. So really hadn't gotten around to doing any of that yet, other than just kind of looking. When I found this one on Marketplace, the only thing it needed was a motor. It had carburetors, it had the exhaust, it had everything else. In talking to the guy, they had pulled the motor to put it in a lawnmower pulling tractor kind of thing for like fairs and stuff. I don't know why they pulled apart a perfectly good bike, but whatever. It worked out well for me. So I got the bike and I put the motor in it, and it needed a stator, and it was kind of nice. I messaged the guy back and I was like, hey, you wouldn't happen to have a stator for one of these? Because new ones are really expensive. They're over 200 bucks. He's like, yeah, I think I got one, and I think he sold it to me for like 50 bucks or something. So put the motor in. I think it took me 2 or 3 times going through everything and making sure everything was sealed and all of that, but it went in. I struggle with carburetors. It is not my forte, and this bike is proof of that, because this bike could run a whole lot better if it had a good set of carbs on it, or if it had the carbs gone through by somebody who knew what they were doing. It would definitely run a lot better. It has this hesitation and whatever, but at any rate, as I was working on it and getting it going, my son, who was still living with us at the time, said, I kind of like that bike. Would you sell it to me? And I said, yeah, I would sell it to you, and it'd be a great beginner bike for you. So he bought it from me, and I've been working on it ever since. I also sold my son-in-law a motorcycle that way, and I've been working on that one. I spent a lot of time last summer working on the 2 of them together. But this particular bike is a really nice bike. It's in really good condition for the year. It's not spent a lot of time outside in its life. It's been well taken care of. The carburetors are the issue at the moment. I kind of wanted to get it out today and ride it, because he's kind of thinking that in the next couple of weeks it's going to start warming up and he wants to ride it. So I kind of wanted to get it out and stretch it out a little bit for him. Go through it. I went through the carburetors. They really weren't all that dirty. I was hoping that it would help. I put new plugs in it, which definitely helped. It still has a little bit of an idle issue, but overall it's a pretty decent bike. I like it, and he likes it, so you can't beat that. I live in mid-Michigan, where it's very flat and straight. Most of the roads are flat, very little elevation change, and most of them are straight. So it's not exactly an exciting ride in the realm of motorcycling, but I'm on a motorcycle. It is April 9th, and it's like 43 degrees out, so it's not very warm out today, and I can really feel it on this bike. I'm really used to riding my Harley, which is a full fairing and the shin guards and the whole 9 yards, and it breaks the wind quite well. And it doesn't break wind, it breaks the wind. It's about as curvy as it gets around here. Every once in a while you'll find a stretch of road like this where you can really get some lean on it. But they're few and far between. Oh, that one was beautiful. That one felt good. This bike handles really good, in my opinion. It is difficult to start. It's just cantankerous. It's actually running really good today. I'm pulling 60 no problem. It is pulling away. It's pulling for that. I mean, it's really pulling, wanting to go, so that's good. I think that's what this needed. I stored it in my dad's pole barn for the winter because he was gone, and I noticed that I always stored my GL650 in my pole barn where there was a little bit of heat. It never freezes actually, and it gets cold but it doesn't freeze. And in his pole barn it's just cold all winter. I had to do some truck repairs over there and it was cold, and I don't like storing bikes that way because I know when I got my GL out the year I stored it over there, it started hard, and both this and the KZ started really hard this year, and I don't know for a fact, but it sure seems that cold storage like that is kind of hard on them. It at least makes it hard for them to start in the spring. They both had, I've changed plugs in both of them. I start them and idle them, and they followed the plugs out, so. I much prefer my two wheels. That's what it needed to do. This bike's running really good right now. Must be this cold, dense air. Yep, there's only 5 gears on this. Harley's got 6. Actually pretty happy with the way it's running. It's running pretty good, as good as it ever has, I guess. There was one day that we got it back, and my carb guy go through the carbs, got it back, and it ran fantastic that day. And it hasn't run fantastic since. It's run good, but not fantastic. And I firmly believe that my issue is the carburetors, but I just haven't found anybody that I'm particularly happy with. I have a buddy who works at a shop, and he went through Chris's carburetors, and I just wasn't happy with the results. So I was hoping it would be better. Chris doesn't mind, he doesn't care, but I guess we don't need to go fast at all. Carrying way too much speed. This thing had I think it's got a cable that winds on it. I also think that maybe the bearing on the coolant fan might be going. I get a little bit of noise. Don't know. It's running good though, man. It really is. So I'll address that cable issue. I think it's in the speedometer, I think is what it is. It's just needs lubed or whatever. So this bike's been around for about 2 years. I actually got it running the fall that I got it, so fall of 2020, it was actually running, and Alex said he would buy it, and he got his endorsement, and then last summer he used it quite a bit to commute and just things like that. Just a great commuter bike, and it saves him a lot of money in gas because he lives a little ways from work now. So, but yeah, I think this thing's ready to go. I'm happy with this bike. Other than the carburetors, I just wish I could get those straightened out. Maybe this fall. I don't know. We'll see where Alex is at, what he wants to do. It is his bike. I can't make that decision for him. Ooh, having a cookout. Ooh, man, that smells good. Wow, does that smell good? I think I'm just gonna give this a once over. Check everything, make sure everything's tight, check fluids, all that. Run it over to Alex today, maybe. Oh, it's filthy dirty. It needs a bath for sure. There it is. CX500. Now, let's take this beast out. I don't know what he's cooking, but it smells good. $4,917. Alright, this is my 1980 Kawasaki LTD440, and that is a mouthful. This is the bike that a year and a half ago, the winter of 2021, I took it apart. I took everything apart, clean, polished, painted everything, replaced stuff that needed replaced, and kind of brought it back to a factory looking motorcycle. So I called it a resto revival, in that I didn't do a full restoration on it. But not like every nut and bolt or anything. And I did a little more than just a revival on it, where a revival would be just getting it running and going through systems, making sure stuff's working. I spent all summer, yet last summer, sitting in the bull barn just because I didn't have time to work on it. It seemed like I spent a lot of time working on Chris's and Alex's bike and other bikes, and just didn't really have time to get to this, or to commit to this, so this kind of sat. Everything's working, it shifted, I've got brakes. I wonder if it's idling now. It's stumbling on me. This has the 1983 motor in it, and one of the main reasons that I went with that motor was because it only has 5,000 miles on it instead of 30, and it has an electronic ignition on it, factory electronic ignition, so everything pretty much fit, bolted up, did everything it was supposed to. No big issues. I didn't have to cut frame or make motor mounts or do anything really weird. It all just kind of fit. I had one of these bikes again in 2020, in the spring of 2020. I got it running, and I was like, well, my intentions were to sell it. And then by the time I got it running, I was like, man, this is a really nice bike. I really like this. And if I ever come across another one, I'm definitely going to buy it. And we had some flooding that year. And again, I was off buying motorcycles, working on motorcycles, doing all that stuff. And it popped up on Marketplace, and this guy was like, you come get it today. And I said, I'll be down there at 11. And it was like 10:57 when I got down there, and he's like, boy, you made it just in time. He says, I've had people messaging me all day on this thing. I was like, well, dude, I appreciate you hanging on to it for me. But apparently what had happened was it was in somebody's shed, and during a flood, and it was probably sitting in about 3 inches of mud, really, mud and water, and like he had got this and like some lawn equipment and stuff, and he was like, I don't need this. So it was pretty decent, and I had full intentions of fixing that up with the 30,000 mile motor on it, and found another one, and the guy wanted way too much for it, and so I kind of talked him down to a price, and I went over to pick it up, and it was his dad, and it had been sitting in his dad's shed, and his dad was like, I told him he needed to get it out of here. I'm gonna let this guy pull forward a little bit. So I made a little better offer for me with his dad, because his dad seemed to want it out of there. His dad was he was in an interesting place. They had he was into antiques, and he had like Model A and Model T parts all over the place, and just old stuff like that, like really old stuff like that. He said he tried to do bikes at one point, but he just he wasn't all that great at it. Interesting guy, and we made a deal with him on that 83, and when I got it back, I realized it was in way worse shape than what I had anticipated. However, the motor was in good shape, and that's the motor that's in this, and it's running really well. This would have been a really fun curve. We didn't have a truck in front of me with a trailer. So once I got it all back together, I did ride it a couple times last summer. I currently have plates and insurance on it, so I'm going to start commuting on it as soon as the stinking weather breaks around here. Like today is 43, and this is the nicest day we've had in probably 2 weeks. Quite literally. It's just been nasty, cold, rainy, miserable. So I'm tempted to turn around and go back and take that the other way. Now I gotta follow him again. I definitely am taking it back. Yeah, this bike needed this too. It's like the CX. It just needed to come out and get warmed up and get the juices flowing. So the one thing I have is that this handle doesn't completely close the switch for the brake light. So my brake light's on all the time. So I'm probably going to need to address that today. I'm going to take this next stretch and I'm going to top her out because I think I had it up to 70 with the other tires on it. I was like, what am I doing? This is not the smartest thing in the world to do. So I'll stretch it out on this next one, 8 to 9, and then I'll go down 9 mile. I really kind of wanted to go a different route, but I did not want to follow a truck and a trailer. Right now, this thing does not have the snap that the CX has. Like, I'm on it hard, and it's not responding like it should. Like I feel it should. Yeah, that's about all I want to do on it, on this road anyways. We hit 75. Yeah, that's about all I want to do on it on this road. Getting a little swishy, a little bit of that. Not real comfortable. I hate these handlebars. I've mentioned that before in another video, but I hate these handlebars. These pullback things, my wrist is already sore. I bought these mirrors aftermarket. They are way too big. I hate them, but they're on here and I'm not buying another set for it, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. They do need adjusted really badly because I can barely see out of them. So mirrors and this brake light, or this brake light thingy, need addressed, and then I don't think I'm going to have a problem riding it. It's 7.3 miles right now. My commute is right around 22, 25 miles, depending on the route that I take. So, oh dude, they're opening their pool already. You got another month and a half where you can even swim in it in this area. Maybe on a good, like a good year last year, like I was hoping it was mid-May and I was like, oh, maybe I could get the pool open. I think I opened it mid-May, but it wasn't ready to swim in. I'm not pulling the cover on mine until towards the end of May. Memorial weekend is about the best time in this area. Yeah, we have a lot of cold in this area. Miserable cold this spring. Yeah, this bike's it's running really well. It's performing really well. The brakes are working. It's shifting just fine. All the lights are working. And I do believe it just needed to come out and be ridden like this. It's so good for it. This motor, when you think about it, has less than 5,000 miles on it, and it's almost 40 years old. It's 39 years old. I am running this bike. So there we have it. This is the 1980 LTD440. First ride of the spring. Yeah, I get back just in time for the neighbor's barbecue. Oh, listen to that purr. Man, listen to that. Idling a little bit high, but listen to it. That's what it should sound like right there. All right, you see how you probably can't see in there, but this is not coming all the way back and tripping that switch. So need to do some adjusting, put something in there, something, make that work. And what else was I thinking? The mirrors. And then this bike's good to go. So there is the LTD and the CX, both in one day. Awesome. I also think that I'm going to get out and ride the Harley today too. So cool. Nice bike, fun bike. I like it.